Before the death of Timur, the first ruler of the Timurid dynasty, he inscribed 2 sentences on his tomb. "If I come back to life, the world will tremble. Whoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." In 1941, a Soviet archaeologist attempted to challenge this curse. He conducted archaeological work on Timur's tomb. Coincidentally, on June 22nd of the same year, Adolf Hitler initiated a massive invasion of the Soviet Union, effectively fulfilling Timur's curse. In the 14th century, there was no ruler in the Islamic world more brutal and formidable than Timur. Through his horrifying military campaigns, he not only achieved unprecedented triumphs, but also massacred millions of people. Timur trampled upon these lives, expanding his dominion from Delhi in India to the Mediterranean coast in the west. 150 years prior to Timur's birth in the 12th century, the Mongols dominated the global stage. Genghis Khan and his descendants ascended to power, establishing the largest empire on earth, the Mongol Empire. However, the Mongols lacked governance skills. Ruling such extensive empire posed significant challenges. Consequently, before his demise, Genghis Khan divided the empire into 4 parts, assigning each portion to one of his 4 sons. The title of the Great Khan was inherited by his 3rd son, while the other sons received their own territories. Initially, they acknowledged the Great Khan as their suzerain, but over time, they evolved into nearly independent sovereign states, the Chagatai Khanate, the Ilkhanate, and the Golden Khanate. Later, the Chagatai Khanate split into eastern and western part due to internal conflict. In 1336, Timur was born into this complex political landscape. His father belonged to the noble tribe, which resided on the southern outskirts of the Samarkand and led a nomadic life. In his teenage years, Timur found his nomadic life boring. He became a bandit, initially stealing livestock from his neighbors and selling them. As he grew bored with this, he escalated to robbing travelers along his path. In his 20s, Timur became a mercenary. During a battle, he suffered severe injuries from being shot in a critical area. Miraculously surviving, he was left permanently disabled in his right leg and right arm, impairing his ability to walk properly or raise his right hand. This earned him the name Timur the Lame. Europeans later misinterpreted his name as Tamerlane. Despite his physical limitations, Timur remained ambitious and determined. In 1357, upon the death of the Khan of the Western Chagatai Khanate, Timur saw an opportunity and sought the support of the Khan of the Eastern Chagatai Khanate. They seized control of the Western Chagatai Khanate. The Khan appointed his son as the governor of the Western Chagatai Khanate, with Timur as his regent. After his death, his son inherited both Eastern and Western Chagatai Khanate. However, Timur was unsatisfied with his position. He betrayed his son and formed an alliance with his uncle, and ultimately conquered the entire region. Timur was unwilling to share power with anyone, so he soon turned against the uncle. In 1370, Timur declared himself as the successor of the Western Chagatai Khanate, officially establishing the Timurid Empire. He married Sarai Malkhanum, a descendant of Genghis Khan, allowing him to establish his legitimate rule over the Western Chagatai Khanate. After consolidating his position as a Khan, Timur was ready to embark on military campaigns. He spent the next 35 years on various wars and expeditions. Timur had no interest in developing diplomatic relations with neighboring countries. For him, the most efficient approach was war. Timur valued skilled artisans, considering the unfortunate survivor of his massacres, but he did not treat them generously. Instead, he sent them to Samarkand, his imperial capital, where they worked tirelessly to transform the city into a great showcase of the Timurid Empire. Samarkand became the center of the Islamic world, attracting artists, architects, and intellectuals from various regions. Timur sought to legitimize his rule by positioning himself as the defender of Islam and the heir of the Genghis Khan. He referred to himself as the sword of Allah, portraying himself as the chosen instrument to defend and uphold true Islam. As Timur's empire expanded through military campaigns, its territorial boundaries grew, resulting in a diverse ethnic and religious composition. Non-Muslim was forced to convert to Islam. This ideology drove his invasion of Delhi in India, as he believed the rulers there were too lenient towards the Hindus. In 1398, Timur led a massive army, devastating cities and capturing Delhi. He then turned his attention to the Ottoman Empire and the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt, believing this land belonged to the Mongol Empire. The Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt was easily defeated, but for the Ottoman Empire, Timur faced Sultan Bayezid I. Timur quickly seized Baghdad, a city belonging to the Ottoman Empire. He massacred over 20,000 citizens and demolished all the historical sites. Continuing his advance, Timur moved north to occupy Azerbaijan and the Syrian regions, posing a significant threat to the Ottoman Empire. Upon reaching Sivas, Timur addressed its citizens, offering them a promise. If you choose to surrender and open the gate, I assure you no blood will be shed here. Recognizing their inevitable defeat, the people surrendered and opened the gate. However, Timur ordered a live burial of 3,000 innocent civilians in the town. In 1402, Timur's army approached Ankara and encountered the forces of Bayezid I. Finally, he successfully captured Bayezid I. In spite of Timur's brutal nature, the Western European world actively supported him, as the enemies of their enemies is their friend. Timur's attack against the Ottoman Empire provided temporary relief for the Christian world, which was facing a crisis, as the Ottoman Empire was attempting to conquer Hungary. Upon hearing Timur's victory over Bayezid I, both England and France sent congratulatory messages to Timur. Spain even dispatched an embassy to establish diplomatic relationship with the Timurid Empire. Subsequently, Timur directed his attention towards the next target, the Ming dynasty of China. This will be his final campaign. Samarkand had long maintained trade relationship with the Ming dynasty, but the Ming dynasty often regarded them as a vassal state, undermining Timur's status. Timur refused to accept being treated as a subordinate and aimed to teach them a lesson. Consequently, he frequently detained the Ming envoys. When the Ming dynasty sent a second embassy to investigate, Timur once again detained them and declared war on the Ming dynasty. In 1404, Timur led an army of approximately 200,000 soldiers against the Ming dynasty. In the year 1405, while crossing the frozen Siadaya River, Timur fell ill with a cold and passed away at the age of 68. With the loss of the leader, the army decided to abandon the campaign against the Ming dynasty and return home. The expected confrontation between the Timurid Empire and the Ming dynasty never took place. After Timur's death, his body was anointed with aromatic oil and placed in an ivory coffin. He was then laid to rest in Samarkand. Following in the footsteps of Genghis Khan, Timur divided his empire among his descendants, adopting a similar practice of succession. However, his empire was characterized by the enforcement of fear, oppression, and lacking a well-established governance system. Consequently, the longevity of the empire was limited. In the subsequent decades, his successors engaged in conflict with each other, leading to gradual decline of the empire. The empire eventually succumbed to internal dispute and lost the strength to sustain its once vast territories.